and welcome to the Hawks Nest live stream show. My name is Brandon Kane. You know, I thank you so much for checking out the channel today as we are going to look at defense today. You know, the Seattle Seahawks last year, they zigged. Everybody else was zagging. The new hotness, the new coolness. You want to be the cool kid in class with the kid cool shoes. You better go get yourself an offensive-minded head coach. That's where you go get that happen. That's where you go make that occur. You want to win? You want to get championships? It's done with offense, baby. It's the modern NFL age. And yet John Schneider and company said, no, we're going to take a left turn here at Albuquerque, but we are going to go the right direction, unlike Bugs Bunny, because we're actually going to be ahead of things. We're going to be a bit at the forefront of things, because what have we seen over the last 2 years? Oddly enough so, defense coming back, taking some more rope back from the offense. After the years, offense just pulling that rope more to their side, more to that side. The defense almost seeming like there's nothing they can do. Every year, offenses keep going more and more and more. And then last year, we actually saw a continuing trend from the previous years. Things went down just a little bit defensively. So Seattle might be a little bit at the forefront of this with Mike Macdonald and making this hiring. But did Mike Macdonald come in and bring what you were hoping he could supply? Because you go and get this guy to hope not that you're going to replicate the Legion of Boom, but that you can lead with a defense that can be dominant again, like we did 10 years ago. Not that your offense wasn't functional or you didn't have good special teams, but it was as much the defense that was not carrying the load, but maybe at the forefront there of that team and how they rolled in the way that they did. And likewise, you're trying to do the same thing here with Mike Macdonald. And so we have our first year trends and what we kind of saw from him here in this first year to kind of operate off of, to see what he brought to the table that was maybe a little bit different from Coach Carroll, and maybe making sense as to why you made a bit of this transition, because these guys both are defensive-minded head coaches, but both of them have two very different philosophies when it comes to how they look their defenses to execute and the way that they want to go about shutting down offenses. And you felt that from Mike Macdonald in his first year. What was a very successful first season for him as a head coach and as a defensive-minded head coach as far as helping this defensive unit get better and improve. But let's take a look at just some things I want to go down the line of here today, which is want to look at some of the statistics that we can come off of and looking in a comparison standpoint to the Coach Carroll defenses and what was going on there with that. And as well as kind of look at the coverage usages from Mike Macdonald last year versus Coach Carroll and how that might have changed up just a little bit this year. And then, of course, we're going to look at a little bit of tape and dive into a little bit of a few of the plays that I want to show you where you really do feel the difference of what Mike Macdonald brings to this team with this scheme, its capabilities, and how it can move in a direction to shut offenses down. And that's really inherently when you get to Coach Carroll and Mike Macdonald's beliefs in defense, it gets down to the root. And again, it's just different ways. It's not, this is the best way, this is the best, maybe this is the best way with Macdonald in this day and age, but they're just different ways. Coach Carroll's got a little bit more of the bend but don't break. Offense is going to make a mistake at some point, and then we're going to pounce and be able to take advantage of that mistake. Mike Macdonald's defense is more of, we're going to drive and make the mistake happen if we can. First, looking at the coverages here and marking a little bit of the comparison between 23 and 24, you can see that both different units had a little bit of variances in the way that they use the coverages, but you can see in the first place that stands out when you look at Mike Macdonald when it comes to his secondary is that he's going to vary things up very evenly. And this is back to a little bit of the heart DNA of Mike Macdonald's system, is that he wants you offensively to not know what he's doing defensively post-snap. So you can see that what stands out in the 2023 coverage splits here with Coach Carroll back with that defense and Clint Hurt was that you were running cover 3 46.6% of the time. So almost half of your snaps were dedicated to cover 3. And some of the problematic aspects of the prior defense had just been that you were so predictable, especially when you weren't disguising what you were doing pre-snap to post-snap, that when you're then running one coverage set 50% of the time, on top of the fact you're not disguising anything pre-snap, it makes offenses have an easier time of playing your defense, even if you have a lot of talent on that side of the ball. You can see here, though, he's got this thing pretty well split. Well, I mean, look, you're still 27% at cover 3, but I think that's a big difference from the almost 47% that you were rocking last year. So there's quite a bit of changing up in the coverages with Mike Macdonald, a lot of variance in there. You can see as well cover 0. That's essentially your casino blitzes. Coach Carroll did not like to run those. He did not like to risk those. You see Macdonald going all the way up to 7%. I mean, it's 700 times the amount of cover 0s you ran last year prior to 2023. And I would reckon to guess in looking at the coverages for Coach Carroll through a lot of his recent history here, 5, 6, 7 years back, that cover zero usage at 1.2% adds up and stacks up to what he's been in recent years. And we again come back to unpredictability. When Isaiah as an offense can come up prior to the snap and know you're going to be in that coverage post-snap, right? And then I know that you're also not going to blitz very infrequently, and you're certainly not going to run very many cover zero blitzes at me to the tune of only 1.2%. I'm not even going to consider it as a possibility in my pre-snap recognition. I'm not looking to change protections or whatever, even if you show it to me at times, because I just know you're not really going to run it, barely but at all. So you've got to run it a little bit to make them think it's going to be there and that they've got to be aware of it, and they can't just throw that out of the playbook. It's not a possibility. And in the coverage usage that you see from Macdonald last year, that's exactly what he was able to do with the variance. He's going to slide between all these different coverages. And remember with him, another inherent difference from the prior defense is that he's looking to always change what he shows you pre to post snap. A lot of what we do is in a cover two shell. Cover two, though, you can see here was only run 16% of the time last year, 13% of the time cover two, 3% in a man match kind of situation, or 3% man match situation. So you're in cover two shell a lot of the time, or predominantly a lot of the time, but you're only then rotating into that 16% of the time post snap. And that just is about to disguising and keeping the offenses off balance in that way, which the Seattle Seahawks, of course, are really good at with this new defense, but was not a big part of the prior old defense. All right, keeping it moving here, and I want to show you some stats here that are related a little bit to, these are just more of some subset stats that are just kind of look in alignment here to kind of get some general understandings here of the changes and what you got as far as the returns from Macdonald this year. What I tried to do as well is I'm looking at 21, 22, 23 individually here on my right side. I guess it'd be the left side of your screen here. And then you've got 2024 defensive ranks on the equivalent data here to my left. And then we're going to do an average of the 3 years from 21 to 23 to give you guys kind of an idea of the differences in what Macdonald brought first year when it comes to everything as far as a breakdown goes. Now, points allowed, in 2021, these are from 3 years ago, you can see that even there, the data wasn't going great for Coach Carroll's stuff. You get 29th in sack percentage rate. Your completion percentage was through the moon. That the completion percentage is a big part of the predictability of the former defense, that quarterbacks knew where they could go and they had a high chance of success of where they were going to go because they were seeing it clean prior to the snap. Tackle for losses, 18, 13 penalties. You can see that the 21 was actually a pretty good year defensively as it started to just about this point really was sliding into the direction. It wasn't good. 31st in passing yardage, you can see. But you look over in 2024 with Mike Macdonald, and he's improved everything across the board. And not just from 21 as we go through this. I'm going to show you 21, 22, 23. It's the same way that Macdonald's 2024 season beats out anything of the last 3 years for Coach Carroll on any of these kind of items for the most part. 22, you're 25th in points allowed, 27th in yards allowed, 30th in rush yardage, 25th in sacks. You again counted this back to last year with Mike Macdonald, and 12th in points allowed, 14th in yards allowed, 11th in passing yardage, 16th in rushing yards allowed. So doubled the improvement from 22 on that at least. Sacks were up last year. Quarterback hits were up last year. Everything looking pretty good. Penalties, again, you can see have been an issue here for a little bit of time. It's Mike will get around to that eventually. Tackle for loss, we're a little bit higher with 22 and with Coach Carroll defenses. That's a little bit having to do with just more of an emphasis on penetrating at times and getting into the backfield, causing problems in the backfield in that way. So it's not as much with Macdonald. He wants his defensive linemen sometimes kind of holding things up at the line, letting the linebackers run free behind him. So that's a little bit of representatory of why that looks that way. 23 points allowed, 25th, yards allowed, 30th, passing yards, 21st, 31st. You can see not a lot of great stats here in the final year of Coach Carroll's defenses there. He, again, had a good tackle for loss rate, letting that defensive line kind of get back there, but you probably were paying a price for letting them kind of run wild and free in there in the run game to kind of stop that up as they could. Penalties, again, you can see were a problem in that spot. Blitz rate for both these teams is going to be pretty low. Neither Coach Carroll or Mike Macdonald is really trying to blitz a lot. Macdonald's usually going to be around the middle of the road most seasons. Completion percentage, again, up high. You can see that trend that I've shown you in a couple of these for the 3-year period where the completion percentage is up because of the fact that you have a defense that's very predictable. And if I can know you're in cover 3 and we've got an over route coming here on the backside, that over route's likely to be open because your corner's going to be playing to depth, I can hit that for an easy completion all day. You multiply that by 10, 15 times over the course of a game, you're giving offenses too many easy completions to be able to operate and move the ball up the field, albeit patiently, of course, because Coach Carroll defenses weren't going to let the top be taken off of their defense. Now, when you break this down to 21 through 23, so you go down to a marker here of 2021, 2022, 2023, and you look at the subset of average for that 3-year period and then compare it here to Mike Macdonald and what he did, you can see that the numbers hold up really well for Macdonald in his first season, where everything across the board is an improvement, and in some cases a pretty massive improvement from where they had been. Just the first year returns of this guy before he's even gotten all of his defensive personnel in there, gotten all of his guys in there to get this thing rolling at the full speed. Already you get some significant improvement across the board. So points allowed, you averaged 21st in points allowed for that 3-year period, 28th in yards allowed for that 3-year period, 22nd in passing yardage, 26th in rushing yardage, as that was another issue that just kept coming up that used to be a part of Coach Carroll's defense you could kind of always rely on, is at least you'll get the rush yards stopped. He'll make sure he'll force you into becoming one-dimensional. But as you saw the last 3 years prior there, that kind of went downhill just a little bit. Sack percentage wasn't necessarily bad, middle of the road there. Completion percentage at 21st over a 3-year period. You can see here blitz rate kind of holds steady too as well. And the hurry percentage was at 19th. And I know I've got 7.3% as the hurry percentage there. That's kind of right around middle of the road, I believe. If I'm not mistaken on my notes on that. Yeah, right about that. 21st, I guess. So not middle of the road, but 21st on that hurry percentage for 2024. So base stats here, I just wanted to kind of get this as a general understanding as you look at this, to where you can kind of get a quick snapshot idea of how things are moving in the right direction here in year 1 under Mike Macdonald. Again, saying that he did this in his first year, inheriting all of the personnel of Coach Carroll's defense. And Coach Carroll and his defense is looking for a lot of things in certain ways that are a lot differently than what Mike Macdonald might be looking for in his defense. Kind of a key point there on this. So getting that immediate returns despite the fact that you just don't have all of your purified fits, very impressive from Mike Macdonald's standpoint, and just one of the reasons why this was such a very successful season for Mike Macdonald in his first year. Not just the wins, not just being the youngest first-time head coach in the NFL, but also because of the fact that you were able to take this unit and really jump it right up instantaneously. And I'm expecting this to only go further forward this season. When you look at things like EPA, which is, of course, trying to more track a little bit better of the, taking the plays down and how they matter by importance a little bit more so, rather than you're just looking at his general stats and how they appear over a game. EPA tries to measure a little bit more of the quantitative value of an individual play and then stack those quantitative value plays up to get you a better understanding of efficiency, especially offense or defense when you apply EPA. So Seahawks defense's EPA rank in 2024, their play EPA was 11th on defense. Their rush EPA was 16th. Their pass EPA was 8th. And maybe I give you guys actually the definition. So EPA, to break it down again, just basically simplified, is it's the difference between the expected points after the result of the play. So it's just to basically kind of, it tries to give you a little bit of more of an advanced marker if you can on this kind of stuff, just beyond the base stats that I just showed you on the prior. So 2024, 11th, 16th in rush, pass EPA was 8th, time to throw was 22nd in the NFL. In 2021, you can see that the numbers were all worse across the board except for the rush EPA there. Time to throw was a little bit more improved under the Coach Carroll defense, so he was getting the ball out of the quarterback's hand faster in 21, but you can see that this is going to trend quickly in the wrong direction. 2022, again, all the numbers in 22 are going to be worse than 24's ranks EPA-wise. Play EPA 22nd, rush EPA was 24th, pass EPA was 19th. That's off 8th in 2024. So not looking good. Time to throw 32nd in the NFL. You were giving them all day. They could have a vacation. They could have a barbecue cookout. 2022 defense was letting quarterbacks feast in that pocket. 2023, a little bit of improvement, down to 22nd there, tied with what you did last year. But the rest of the other numbers there in 2023 are not good. Play EPA was 29th, rush EPA 31st, pass EPA was 25th. So some of your advanced markers aren't good, especially when you look at this comparatively speaking to 2024, where everything looks a lot better there on that one. Much like we did before, let me give you the average of the 3-year period and then kind of compare that to the Seahawks defense for 2024 to give you a little bit of a measurement of, okay, here's not a 1-year sample size, here's 3 years. I only got the 1-year sample size for Macdonald, but 3 years up against the 1 on EPA. And so your average rank for EPA for that 3-year period under Coach Carroll was 24th for play EPA, 22nd for rush EPA, 23rd for pass EPA, and 23rd for time to throw. So nothing that you were hanging your hat on that was really anything that was particularly good that you could lean on that was, okay, we do this good. At least we got this that's holding in right. And you can see those numbers directly relate over to Mike Macdonald in this first year, improved across the board. Only the time to throw is the one that kind of remains up there a little bit. But even that, you did a pretty good job with, as you go back and look at the numbers on the sacks and the pressures from last year, that wasn't particularly too bad on that side. Okay, so you can see here with the statistics on this side of it that Mike Macdonald absolutely improved things in his first year. It was a guy that's supposed to be a mastermind, or I don't know, I'm not going to throw genius on, but just a guy that's supposed to be a defensive trendsetter in a lot of ways. He comes in and he delivers the goods in that first year as far as the statistical planes show. But what does the tape show? Was he able to come back in here and do some things to correct some things that have been big issues for you in prior years as far as just actual play in and play out goes? Let's go beyond the stats. And for me, yeah. And the real place that this stands out is going to be in third down situations. Being that prior years, you'd have a lot of problems where you just weren't always playing to the sticks. You were willing to give up first downs if it meant that you were preventing the big play. You were keeping everything in front of you. And this would allow you to have incessant drives where you would just get bled up the field. This is a bit of the bend but don't break philosophy at play of the prior defense versus this defense, which is just kind of trying to shut you down. And so when you come to third downs, these are the key places in all NFL games, both offenses, defense, for both sides of the ball, that your execution on third downs will dictate your success in the day overall in a lot of ways. So getting better at that place, and specifically as I showed at the head of this show today, being unpredictable prior to the snap and being unpredictable post-snap in what you're doing across the board is very helpful in these kind of third down situations, because now you're removing the easy plays from the quarterback's plate. Now he has to think it through. Now he's got to process a little bit in order to get the success on the play, and you got a much better chances then of stopping them and holding them down. I think the cool part about Mike Macdonald's defense is that Coach Carroll would tell you that if you're going to make that decision and choice to do that on third downs and to get a little bit tighter up on the coverages, to squeeze down, to run some stack boxes, to run some simulated pressures, well, then you're opening and you're exposing yourself then to the back end and the deeper plays down the field. And that doesn't necessarily have to be the case, as Mike Macdonald has shown. He is very zone-centric. It's one of the ways that he is differentiated from his predecessors who've run this defense. He's going to lean a little more into zone. He's going to protect against the deeper stuff more often than not. He will take his risks at times. He's not a crazy gambler, though, with it. So he's showing you that you can find a bit of a striking of the balance here. But let's take a look at a couple of these plays I want to show you on third downs, and I'm going to show you a few run game fits here, just some kind of random cut-ups from last year that I want to show that were, to me, very impressive in what Mike Macdonald was bringing to play, especially on these third downs. And a couple of things will stand out to you with it. First off, we have a 3rd and 7 here against the Rams. And Macdonald's going to run the simulated pressures he likes to run on third downs. And simulated pressures don't always mean that you're running more than front 4 as a pass rush. Sometimes you'll run extras, but a lot of times you're just running those 4 and you're dropping everybody into coverage. You just want to make the protection believe you're bringing somebody or the threat of somebody is coming. So here you have kind of a cover 1 look here from the Hawks with a single high safety. Your corners up in relative kind of a press look here a little bit. You've got the stacked boxes. So to Stafford here, everything's going to look like it is a blitz. Now you bring the extra guy, you force the incompletion. Why does that happen? Because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys on the line of scrimmage. You only have 5, 6 blockers for the Rams when you include in the running back right here. So they've overloaded this front. You've got a receiver that's uncovered there. But as you can see, when this gets pulled out, you're running a bit of a zone blitz. So Jaron Reed, he's going to come out. Now you can see if I'm Stafford here, if you look at this and I look at the top side of my screen with my 3 wide receivers, I've only got 2 receivers covered up. I've got a blitz look here. So in the back of my mind, I'm going, I got to go hit my hot. And my hot is going to be that guy that's in the slot that's uncovered. This guy right here. I'll give my highlighter here so you guys can see it a little bit easier. But I'm going right here. This is my slot. He's uncovered. He should be open. It's a hot route. Let's go there. So you're already kind of forcing the quarterback with this front to kind of be determining where he goes with his eyes initially. And then if you can take away where he's going with his eyes initially, now you've got him. And that's just what the Hawks are able to kind of do here. He drops back. He quickly feels the pressure too fast, but look at your edge. Your edge here takes away the route. If it's a drag across the field with that uncovered receiver to Atwell, you've got Jaron Reed then sitting in the middle of the field to take away the drag. But as it stands, your overload blitz ends up confusing the hell out of him. You could end up with Draymond Jones here just basically freed up all the way to the quarterback because they blow the protections here. They bend it inside. And this just completely, you can see how the right tackle here just completely lets Draymond go. This is Mike Macdonald's scheme creating this for Draymond. This is where you go, when do coaches give us advantages to help us out? Give us something. Well, if I give you a free run at the quarterback off the edge on a 3rd and 7, I've done my job as a coordinator. No chance for this thing to be completed all the way through. But part of it is you taking away that hot route initially there. Yeah, the pressure is right on top of him. But even if the pressure is not on top of him instantaneously, you're going to have a beat here to get your pass rush there home to him because of it. So a cool little play here. All by that stack box and creating those protection changes. You bring up the stack box, you force the teams to change their protections. They can't just play it straight up. And then they end up doing stupid things, silly things that you wouldn't even expect, like leaving an edge just completely unblocked on a play. That's what this kind of stuff does create. Here against Atlanta, you have 3rd and 10. Another part of what you're able to do at times with this Macdonald scheme and dictating where you want the ball to go is you go, okay, we're going to make him get the ball out of his hands. We're going to make him throw it to what's going to be his hot route there, his security blanket throw. He will complete it, but we will have the players in place there to rally up and then go make the tackle in front of the sticks. But you're also creating a little bit of a pressure here to be able to force this to happen. So again, this is a 3rd and 10. You bring a little bit of a blitz here. You've got 4 guys. We got 5 guys in the line of scrimmage, and then you've got Baker coming in there, the former inside linebacker for us coming down in there. But then you're dropping Boye Mafe out as a spot dropper there into space. And so Boye comes back, takes away the over route underneath. Running back actually does a good job of going the right direction once Mafe pops out there, Bijan Robinson. But you can see here, you've dropped in the coverage here. Look at the white bodies here. Go back. Everybody's up at the first down sticks, right? So you see you've got this completely covered up well. You showed the stack boxes to try to create the confusion up front. You bring everything here. You've got this at the sticks now. If you look up at the top corner, though, here, we look up right here, you forced this throw. So you got Cousins a little bit worried about the extra pressure bearing down. He knows he needs to get the ball out of his hands. You've got everything on the back end basically cleaned up and covered up well. He's going to go, well, I'll just throw it to my back here, and he can maybe go run for the first down. But you've got Witherspoon there in space who's going to rally up and go make this play in front of the sticks. But you sort of give him the cheese a little bit here with the back, leaving the back up there as the easy option for Cousins. Especially with Cousins knowing in the back of his mind, even though you drop off Boye here, you still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys coming. So he's still got to go know that his clock is sped up just a little bit here to get this out. But you force the throw in front of the sticks. You don't just stick with the front 4 pressure, which we would have done before. You bring the extra man there. You show the 6, trying to speed that quarterback's clock up, trying to force that quarterback to get over to his hot route quicker. Another 3rd down and 10 here with the Rams. So Seahawks are in a cover 2 shell look here. You got Woolen off coverage to the bottom side of your screen. We've got press coverage to the top side with some stacked receivers here for the Rams. Seahawks are showing a 4-man front. No simulated pressure here on this play. It's good recognition here by Woolen covering up on Kupp here, coming up on him. But this is really nice because outside the stack front, another thing that you can do is with your defensive line alignment. So you take 3 down to the far side here. You got the 1 on the high side here. You're really going to now stretch and ask that right guard to get over there and help a little bit. You can see with the center here, he gets a little confused about where he should go. Because the center starts out on Jaron Reed and then tries to get over to Leonard Williams late. But this kind of alignment you wouldn't have done in years past. 3 guys down to the far side like that. That's really kind of what creates it. Just trying to create confusion with the offensive line. Versus, let's say you take Jaron Reed and you move him over there to the in front of the right guard. And then you've got 2 guys, you got it balanced up on 2 sides. You're giving that offensive line kind of an easier pathway to be able to block those 4 guys up. Leonard Williams creates the pressure here. The coverage rolls from cover 2, by the way, to more of a cover, kind of a quarters coverage here. Maybe cover 6 here. Because it looks like Bryant's got a half field read there on the other side. And it looks like Love's more driving down. Love's more playing the man there on his side of the field. You show cover 2, you end up in more of a quarter half kind of situation, I feel like there. Somebody's going to correct me in the comments. It's not quarter half. It's a something else. We got 3rd and 11 for the Niners. Again, forced to throw in front of the sticks. A lot of it starts with stacking the box, simulated pressures. Same thing you've got here. Got 6 guys up around the line of scrimmage threatening the blitz here on Purdy. Press coverage on the outside. So already you're giving them that kind of this is an uncomfortable look. We got to get our receivers down the field 10 yards to get to the sticks. I got to have the pass protection hold up long enough for me able to throw to the sticks. And Seattle's showing you defensively, we're not going to give you the opportunity to do that. That's what I love about defenses that do this, is that they don't just sort of stay on their heels and let you sort of have your way on a 3rd and 11. Instead, they say, no, we're going to make this very compressed and hard on you. We're going to really try to take away your ability to even have the time for that route to get to the spot. And it's where, again, the coaches can help out their players and not just expect the players to do it all on their own necessarily. So you are going to bring the blitz post-snap here. You do it interestingly here where you're showing the blitz from the high side of the screen, but then you're actually going to bring Witherspoon from the bottom while still bringing the blitz from the top. But you're able to pull this off because you're zone dropping your 2 defensive linemen. So Leonard Williams, Jaron Reed are going to drop back in the zone blitz, take away the middle of the field, take away what would be the hot route read for Purdy. So boom, Witherspoon comes off. Now Purdy reads this really well because he doesn't get caught up in what's happening to the high side of the field. He goes right down to his hot. But just like I showed you on the last play, you're forcing the quarterback to go to this hot. You're dictating to the quarterback where he thinks he's just processing. You're forcing him to process in this way to keep him far in front of the sticks. And they're far in front of first down marker. You can see is right in front of him. It's hard to see. It's not where he's at the sticks there. There's a stick about 10 yards ahead of him there. You stopped him well short on this play. But he feels Witherspoon coming off that side, does Purdy. So he feels Witherspoon blitzing off the low side. And he goes, well, wait, that was Witherspoon's man. That was who he was supposed to cover. So I'll do what I'm taught, which is throw into the blitz, which is just what Purdy does. But Seahawks are ready for this all the way. Kobe Bryant's ready to jump on this the whole way. They've got a plan for this. Go make the tackle in space, force the throw to be short of the sticks, and then go make the tackle in space. But this is Macdonald dictating this to Purdy. You're dictating to the offense isn't dictating to you. Just a key part, again, that's just way different from where we've ran this in years past. But that pressure, when it's getting here this fast, you're not going to have the time as a quarterback to get it to the sticks on a 3rd and 11. You need the protection to hold up a little bit longer than that. So this becomes automatic mode for Purdy. He just has to get rid of the ball. He has to sort of take the L, if it were. Even if he doesn't think this is going to go get him a first down. All right, Denver, 3rd down, interception. Again, a 5-man stack look here on rookie Bo Nix. First start for Nix here. Leonard Williams is able to create the pressure. Julian Love jumps in front of it and makes the pick at the 1-yard line. But you can see here, and it's one of the places I would love to see more of, Leonard Williams off the edge. He was really effective at times working off the edge. Does it give you an opportunity to get Byron Murphy into the 3-tech role as well, if you can put him out here more often. But just causes a little bit of confusion. He ends up, that 3-man lineman down to the bottom of the screen, kind of throws them off a little bit. Quinn Miners there just gets whooped really as much as anything. But you end up dropping back 7 guys in coverage. That's what also makes this, is that you show the 5-man. You always show them a little bit extra on the defensive line, even if your intention is to drop back 4. But you always do that to create a little bit of an uptick as far as the timing of the play and the quarterback's mind, that quarterback clock speeding up. And that's just what this kind of does like that. Nice little alignment. 3rd down interception there. Get pressure. Patriots early on in the year. You're showing a cover 2 look here. You got a little bit of a box safety almost situation with Julian Love. Patriots got 4 wide receivers here. You're going with a 4-down alignment. Play to the sticks. Play to the sticks. Sometimes some things that could drive me crazy about the prior defense is you'll get a play like this, and rather than end up in a spot like this, where, as you notice here, you've got a lot of Seahawks defenders in around on those sticks. It's a 3rd down play. You're not trying to give up a 1st down. You've got 1 man deep here, basically, as your safety valve guy. Everybody else is kind of covered up in man, basically, or covered up in their zone. But notice the white jerseys there at the sticks or in front of the sticks. Not giving them that throw at that spot, where in prior defenses, you might have had more of the coverage drifted a little bit deeper here. You might have given them a few more openings into the middle of the field. Great pressure here. You go get the sack. But you can see Brissett not able to see this clearly. He goes through a couple different reads here. You see his head bopping around. You basically ended up playing this man post snap, and I think that Brissett's expecting more of a zone. Also, you like how good instincts there inside linebacker-wise. I think that's Dodson. Nice job taking away the tight end there. Hunter Henry had a hell of a day on this day. Another 3rd down sack I want to show you. Really a difference on Mike Macdonald's defense was 3rd down play when you break down to it. Again, we got the stack box coming into play here. You can see this about another 8 yards or so that they've got to get. Approximately, we'll call it 10. So they got 10 yards to get. You're going with a 3 safety look, and a little bit of a tease, by the way. We're going to be doing a show next week talking about maybe how 3 safeties might be the new hotness. Can you just picture? Can you just imagine? Can you just daydream about Nick Imawari out there in the Rashawn Jenkins role? Rashawn Jenkins right here. So can you just imagine it being Nick Imawari here? You still got Love. You still got Kobe Bryant on the field. And then you bring Imawari out here to kind of play this sort of role. Again, you're leaving a guy uncovered here. So you're telling Brissett, maybe I want to attack right down in here on this uncovered slot. I've got 2 receivers technically uncovered. So this is where, as a quarterback, if I'm looking at this, I'm like, I'm probably going over here with the ball. This is where they seem to be susceptible from a coverage standpoint. You do have 6 guys up around the line of scrimmage, though. So now we're speeding up that clock of the quarterback again on this play. You switch out, goes into a cover 2 look, post snap. So cover 3, you got the 3 safety look. 2 of your safeties go to cover 2. Your other safety just kind of stands in the slot, waits out his guy to arrive there. Your linebackers drop out into space to take away the middle of the field there on any kind of crossing route through. And you can see here, good quick pressure there. Brissett doesn't have a lot of time to process, but who's open here as well? And if he just wants to hit his back foot right here and let it rip, where's he going? Where would you go with that? I think is that Mafe there with some great pressure, I think. I think that's Mafe. Both guys kind of make it happen there. Leonard coming from the other side too. Boy, Leonard was a monster last year. So quick pressure coming from the sides. Some of what allows this pressure to hit is going to be up to the top. Leonard Williams coming through because that offensive line's trying to figure out with those 5 guys for the 3-4 that they have as far as available blockers. How are we blocking this up? And when you bring up that high blitzer here, when you bring up the top blitzer, you're creating kind of the stretch of the line, you're like the line would like to remain and keep a wall if they can, shoulder to shoulder if it's possible. But when you bring a blitzer like this off the edge, you widen out that tackle, which just gives Leonard Williams more space to kind of work with to execute his bull rush. Got another third down interception here. Buffalo Bills gave it to us, but this was one of the plays where you were able to give it to them a little bit. They're showing a cover one look, press coverage off the top there. We've got 5 guys around in the line of scrimmage here, giving Josh a little bit of some games to work with. He's trying to go get the first. Kind of what I like about this that stands out more than it being about the alignment or the way that you change the coverages, because it is cover one that basically is cover one post snap. You're in man with the corners on the outside. But it's a 3rd and 3. And so again, we come back to how you would have played this back in prior years. You might have had 1 or 2 of those corners in off coverage. You might have had the cover 2 shell that drifted into cover 2 post snap, even though it was 3rd and 3. Instead here, you're again coming back with the play call to play to the sticks, to play to where the first down marker is. The onus of the defense is not based upon let's prevent the big play, let's prevent the shot over the top. The onus is upon let's prevent the first down. And so you get the press, you're going to already impress coverage, then throw off the timing of these routes that want to be short, that want to be quick. Allen wants to get the ball out of his hands fast. So this is just a small adjustment off of what you had done prior in these kind of situations to take away the first down and make that really what you want to accomplish here more than it is about, preventing that big play and always being kind of hyper concentrating on that element of the game, which is a big part to keep the big plays down. Don't get me wrong, but when it's everything like it kind of was for the past defense, you don't get the opportunities to make these kind of plays. When can you remember under Coach Carroll defense on a 3rd and 3, this kind of route ever being picked off? That's partly just because most of the time you're going to have the corners kind of in off coverage and playing back a little bit in zone and not as much up in the guy's face like this. Maybe back in the old LOB days with like Browner and Sherman, you might have done a little bit more. But even then, not a ton. 3rd down press coverage, again, this is similar to the one that I just showed you. Just wanted to show that he's done this a couple times last year where, again, you have a 3rd and 3 here. So they need just 3 yards. You bring up the stack box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys up around the line of scrimmage. Does this look like an alignment to you where they're protecting against the deep pass, where they're worried about the big chunk play? Or does this alignment look like to you a team that's trying to shut this offense down, take that first down away, force you to punt? Purdy's got to come up here and try to figure out what the hell he's going to do and what the hell he's seeing. Again, it's a cover one look on the outside, press look. You got the single high safety. So he knows right here Seattle's intention, or at least what they're showing me, is that they want to take away the short routes. And I don't know who the hell's coming. I got double A gap mug pressure with the 2 inside linebackers. I've got a wide 9 alignment with the defensive line. And then I still have Julian Love down there creeping. And Julian Love creeping that close takes away my outlet Christian McCaffrey route to the flat, if that's what we run post snap. So you're putting the pressure on the Niners here right from the jump. Right on from the jump. And what ends up happening? You end up forcing the pass out of the hands a little bit faster. You drop the linebackers into coverage. So the double A gap, look at the inside linebackers. They bop out. They're going to take away whatever's happening to the inside portion of the field. Love runs to the center of the field post snap. So he's not even worried about McCaffrey. He just bails post snap. The team basically ignores McCaffrey. And partly, I think, because you're trying to make the Niners think you're hyper concentrated on McCaffrey prior to the snap, that Love is just going to live next to McCaffrey post snap here. But instead, Love bails back into the center of the field. So Purdy, being the processor he is, gets back there and goes, oh, shoot, they're taking away the middle here. I'm going to go to my out route here. Jennings, who comes back for the ball, but you're inside the sticks. You force the throw inside the sticks because you got everything sped just a little bit up. So stack box where it starts. You make him think that McCaffrey's not an option as my outlet. I've got to go to my receivers here post snap. And then probably he's got to get the ball out of his hands almost just a little bit quick just to try to complete something here. 3rd and 3. Don't give him anything easy. Make him earn it. I love that about this defense. Shut him down. Get him off the field. Third and 3 Rams. Again, just to kind of nail home this point. This, instead of a cover 1, you get a cover 2 look here. But again, the press coverage on the outside, 3rd and 3. Not as much a stack box here, not as many games you're running up front. But again, post snap looking to close down these routes. Everybody's really tied up on their man here. See how everybody's real tied up on their man. Nobody's in a zone, sitting there kind of waiting in space in kind of no man's land. You got your one safety deep to keep things clean there. It goes from basically cover 2 to, it goes cover 2 to, I think, cover 1 post snap here. You run the press to throw off the routes. The outside corners both get their hands on their receivers to throw off the timing of the routes, hopefully. He wants to go to Cooper Kupp, does Stafford. That's where this is telling him he should go. Weatherspoon plays it nice by getting some good hands on him as well, though. Look at Kupp at the top of your screen. Dislodges that route, dislodges the timing of the route here. Just that little bit of just get a little physicality on him, dislodge it a little bit. And you got Stafford kind of looking here. He's trying to look. He's not sure about what he's seeing. Haphazardly throws a ball over the middle. Doesn't even really see the receiver coming through. Press coverage is so nice. And on third and short like this, it's really cool because some of these routes are timing-based routes. You're trying to do a short, quick throw and throw it to a spot like this. And you can't always then see that the guy's opened up. But a good way to get around that is that physicality at the line of scrimmage. I mean, even Julian Love here. Look at Love down the field. It may not be clean, but is, official's always going to call that play? No. Call it very, very infrequently unless it's egregious. Get a little pressure on this play, but it's more of the press coverage and then just playing the tight man coverage to the sticks. Way different than how we did this in the past on these kind of plays. It would have been cover 3 zone, So imagine this is a 3rd and 3, by the way, from prior, and why this is so much more effective than the past. Is, okay, you have a cover 2 shell like this. You roll it to cover 3 post snap. So you end up with, let's say we end up with, Julian Love going back as your cover 3 safety, as your Earl Thomas guy in the play. Bryant kind of comes down to try to linger down in the box. Your corners then drop back to cover 3 post snap. That's how you would have run it. So they would have just been running on their horseback, remembering that this is a 3rd and 3 play. That's how you would have usually played it prior, more often than not. 3rd and 9, simulated pressure against the Broncos. You got a rookie quarterback in his first start. You want to confuse the ever-loving God out of him. You've got 5 guys up around the line of scrimmage, 3 guys stacked to the strong side of the formation. So already putting a little bit of pressure there. Got Bo Nix thinking you're in a cover 2 look. Press sub press to the high side of the screen. Woolen in off coverage to the bottom side of your screen. Again, this is a 3rd down and 9. So you want to force the throw in front of the sticks. Everything tight. You leave the one guy open here. So right here, you've got everybody deal. You're running cover 2 post snap. You got everybody clamped up here of these 3 receivers right in here. Receivers right around the 50-yard line there. You've got 5 guys for those 3 receivers. Now we've got the one guy leaking underneath. Vele, I think it is, 17 there for the Broncos, right at the 40-yard line. But you can see where the first down marker behind him is at, right there at the 45. So you're covering to the sticks, and then you're forcing the rookie quarterback to go, okay, my open read here is right here to 17. But that's going to be right in front of the sticks. You're forcing their hand right where you want them to go. It's like that Falcons play I showed you, where Witherspoon came up and made the tackle. Your guys are ready for this throw the whole way. You've coached them up to say, okay, they run this, they come through, rally up, go make the tackle. We're going to cover everything to the back behind you, but then if he wants to throw it up in front, good, let him do that. That's a win for us. That's a 3rd down stop. That's a punt. But you give him the cheese here. You give him the cheese of this is where you want to go with it. And you're dictating to him the whole way about that. So he can do it with stack boxes. He can do it with just creative fronts. He can do it with just the 4-man fronts, and then he's just flowing a lot of extra stuff on the back end, changing his coverages pre to post snap. There's not just one way he does this, but kind of a variety of ways. Here we've got a Atlanta confusion play here where you create an interception. And this is where you got a 4-man front. Cousins looking here again at kind of a cover 1 look that becomes cover 2 post snap. See Julian Love at the top of your screen here, rolling back into cover 2 post snap here. So you look at Cousins. Cousins is looking at Kobe Bryant here, and he's feeling Kobe Bryant drop into cover 2. Kobe Bryant ends up getting back into the seam here. So a smart play by Kobe Bryant to recognize this. It's also a bit of an overthrow. Byron Murphy does a good job of getting some pressure here to force this up front. But what he's seeing here post-snap is that Cousins reads appropriately. It's cover 2 post-snap. But then he's expecting in a cover 2 here for Bryant to end up around here, around the 30-yard line marker. And he's going to take away the outside route. And you've got Drake going up into the seam. The seams are where you're vulnerable in cover 2. Cousins knows that. But Bryant ended up rerouting back to the middle of the field because he's a ball hawk. He's got ability to kind of recognize what's going on back there. Notice as well how you move Julian Love into the middle of the field from his alignment. So Julian's in a slot formation. Cousins is reading that of, okay, he's gonna take the slot guy here. It's Witherspoon who I got that kind of wrong. So let's go through this a little bit here. You've got Witherspoon as your cover 2 safety post snap. He goes from slot to cover 2 safety. You got Julian Love, who's your slot corner here to the other side, who ends up as kind of your middle field robber kind of defender here to sort of take those routes away. Can you see the confusion that you can cause for a quarterback with this? First, I look at this as a quarterback week in and week out in the NFL, and if I've got Love aligned up here in the slot, then he's probably taking the slot or he'll drop in his zone there. And if Witherspoon's over his slot, he's going to stay on that guy in coverage. He's not going to drop back into a safety look, but you just create complete confusion across the board how you roll this. Love goes to the middle of the field. You squeeze down those windows. So many guys in coverage because you're only running 4 here. It's very hard to read with Macdonald's defense what you're doing pre to post snap. Nothing about it is simple at all on that side. A couple more I want to show you guys. So simulated pressure, again, what does it cause? Forces the offensive lines to change protection. It tends to then also give your defensive linemen one-on-ones because the protection changes have gone to pick up the blitzer. So double A gap pressure here between Jenkins and your Ernest Jones, your inside linebacker. So the Cardinals change their protections to accommodate for those inside linebackers. You got the cover two shell look on the outside, press coverage. So this is a very typical kind of cover 2 look here. This is a traditional cover 2 look. And so you force the Cardinals to be a little bit slow. So if you watch here, watch the center and the guards here looking for those inside linebackers initially. They eventually recover, but initially they're locked in on those inside linebackers. And the guy you really watch the left tackle. Remember I showed you the Draymond snap where he got a free rush at the quarterback? And you go, man, how do you create a free rush with your edge to the quarterback? How does it occur that the left tackle just completely down blocks and completely ignores that guy, giving him then a free shot at his quarterback? Well, exactly what you get here, isn't it? The running back saves kind of the day here, but this is not by design with the Cardinals pass protection here. This is completely blown by the left tackle. But it's blown because of the double A gap pressure that you show. You end up with 3 guys. If you look at this, you end up with a center, guard, and left tackle all taking on your defensive tackle to free up Hall. And remembering, you're not bringing extra guys. This feels the whole way like you're bringing extra guys. This feels like a blitz. But when you dial it all back to the bottom line, you're only bringing 4 guys. And you end up with a free rusher. It's the greatest part about Mike Macdonald's defense. It's like you get all of the feast without the calories. He throws up this haphazard throw at the end of things here. But it's the best way. You tend to have to give up something to get this kind of pressure. You tend to have to sacrifice something on the back end. Yet post-snap, you're dropping 7 guys into coverage. And you're still creating instantaneous pressure. And not because your guy's beating anybody. Derek Hall hasn't created a move that he's gotten past here. He's just running upfield. He's just got a free run at the quarterback. Frankly, he should have dusted up that running back and been right on top of Kyler. Very creative defense. Helps out his defenders, puts them in really nice spots to be able to get the job done. Sorry, not the one I want here. Another thing I want to show is, let's do one more here with the coverages. One of my favorite ones from last year was how good is his defense? It's so good that you can confuse a Hall of Famer and a legend. And that's just what you do here. This is maybe one of my favorite calls from last year. You have press coverage to the outside. What the hell is this coverage? Tell me what is Aaron Rodgers supposed to make of these two guys right here? How do you make sense of that? I mean, that's not even a cover two shell look. They're not balanced. They're to one side of the formation. They're not manned up on guys. He's not up on the slot. So Rodgers has got to look at this and go, okay, I got a stacked box. I think I'm getting a blitz. I've got two guys to the side where I've got my three wide receivers. How do you read this? How do you know what this is going to be post-snap coverage-wise? And not even coverage-wise, though, then how do you make sense of what this is going to be defensive line-wise? You've got your middle linebacker aligned on the strong side of the formation. He's lined like an outside 3-4 linebacker. You've got 4 down linemen. Then you got 2 guys lurking on the top of the formation. So Rodgers is already really nervous here prior to the snap about what's going on. He doesn't know what's going on with the front. He doesn't know what's going on with the secondary. He's got press coverage. He doesn't know if his receiver's going to be able to get off of that. So he's basically being told here prior to the snap, get that ball out of your damn hands as fast as humanly possible. And that's what he tries to do, is just get rid of the ball. But Seattle, they're going to be inventive pre-snap and they're going to be inventive post-snap. And you marry those two together and you completely create utter confusion. And how do they do that here? Leonard Williams is going to be the guy dropping back. Great sell job by Leonard too. Really sells with that first step, coming forward like he's coming. Then athletic enough to drop back into space. Witherspoon also driving on this route too, as well. I don't know if Witherspoon's coming on like a late blitz maybe even here. Witherspoon might be late blitz in this one. How good of a play call is this, by the way? How good of a play call is this? You get the 99-yard interception return by Williams. Yeah. Zone blitz, you completely confuse a Hall of Famer. Yeah. But I also want you guys to look at the top of your screen. Woolen completely falls down. It's a play call so good, your cornerback can fall on his butt. And Woolen gets a good press. But your cornerback falls right on his butt to leave a guy wide open, but the play's got no chance because it's such a well-designed play. That's the other thing that this defense does. Is there are plays I remember from last year. The Broncos game had a play like this where Witherspoon was a free rusher coming off the edge, and he basically had a free sight at Bo Nix, and he missed Bo Nix. Nix got out of it, but because the play call was so good, you still negated the play. It was just that good of a play call. So Woolen completely falls on his butt. His guy's wide open. Easiest touchdown he'd ever have in his life, but the ball's already out of the hands of Rodgers. Why? Because of what you've done prior to the snap. With this pressure look that you've given him, with this weird-ass coverage on the back end with the 2 safeties aligned to one side of the field, you have completely messed him up. And then, of course, Williams just makes a hell of a play. Hell of a play. One play I want to not belabor, but I do want to talk just a little quickly about is the run game. Because while I'm talking about sunshine and roses and everything being wonderful and beautiful, there is the part of Mike Macdonald's game in the defense that's going to have a little bit of vulnerability. And it's not that they can't be good in this element of things. Every defense is going to have a general natural weakness to it. There is no 100% defense that stops everything everywhere all the time. There is always a place that you've got to choose to make a little bit weaker in order to make other places a little bit stronger. It's just the nature of the beast a bit here. And with Mike Macdonald's defense, this is even going back to the Baltimore Ravens defense. The run, stopping the run, is the place where teams can get after this defense if they're able to do that successfully. And we've got to unwind this a little bit to understand why. So let's go back a little bit on this. What's happened here in recent years is the cover 2 shell has really invigorated defenses in the NFL and brought defenses forward in a major way to allow them, as I said earlier, to take some of that rope back now from the offenses on this side of that. What you've done with that, though, by putting the cover 2 shell out there with the safeties, is you've taken that strong safety who used to be up here in the box, and now he's back out here with his free safety, and they're 12 yards off the line of scrimmage approximately every time. So then what that does is take one less body out of the box, right? And so now you've got most defenses living in nickel most of the time. So they've got a slot corner on the field instead of that base linebacker that they had in ages past. And then you end up with 4 down linemen and you end up with 2 linebackers. So you end up with 6 guys down there around the line of scrimmage. And that's really going to be a situation now for the offense where they have kind of a numbers game there for you, especially when they're going to run those duos and those combo blocks at the point of attack. And so this makes it very hard on the defense to be able to hold the line on that. They're essentially kind of at times light a body down there in the box. And it's very then reliant on the guys to control their gaps, the one techs to be able to control the 2 blockers, to let the linebackers run free, the linebackers that can get off blocks at the second level because they're going to deal with second level blockers in this scheme. There's no way around it. You've got to be able to get off blocks. Big problem last year with the 2 linebackers that we got in free agency, Baker and Dodson, is those guys really struggled at getting off blocks. They needed more of the defensive linemen up front that weren't going to create those kind of situations for it. And you can do a little bit of that, like I said, with a nose tackle that can be a real wide body kind of guy with it. But at the end of the day in this defense, because it's a light box, there's no way around it. You're going to just have to have linebackers that can swing around those blocks, get off them quickly, get back into the play, and still go make the tackle. It's going to be the place that's always a little bit susceptible in this defense. It does get mitigated if you can play from ahead like the Baltimore Ravens did in 2023. You're up ahead. Teams are already naturally now going to have a harder time running the ball, and now you're running headlong into the teeth of this defense, into where they're at their strongest. And so there is a bit of this to where having an offense that can get up on teams a little bit, taking away the running game a little bit if they can do that, that is the nature of where this defense probably will work at its best. Versus if you have an offense that's up by 2 touchdowns on us and now they're able to just lean and run on the ball all day long a little bit, that's going to be a bit of a different territory. But you did feel really the value of this change in the run game once you were able to bring along Ernest Jones. Once Jones came in here and was able to be the guy that could get off the blocks. So here again, I'm going to show you on this what I'm talking about a little bit. 4 down linemen, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 down linemen. And you can see that there are some natural gaps. I mean, just look at here between Byron Murphy and your outside linebacker here. Look at that space. That's not a 1 gap space between those 2 guys. That's a lot of space there. And you have a little bit of a lighter box here. Again, this is that nickel look where you've got Witherspoon over here on the side opposite. Is that Odunze there? So you have Odunze on that side. You got your other corner on the other side here. Woolen opposite there, Keenan Allen. But this is a light box. So you're going to need your linebacker to be able to read the play, get to the play. He's going to have to flow off of a block to get there. He's going to have to fight off a block. He can't just expect it to be free and clear to get to the tackle. And Ernest Jones, when he came here, was a tackling machine, but he was a tackling machine doing this kind of stuff. Get off the block, go make the tackle. A lot of linebackers want it free and clear and easy on that. It's just not going to always be that way. And by the way, I knock Hall a lot for the run game instincts, and it's because of silly stuff like this with him that just really drives me up a wall. I understand he's taking on a crackback block here, pulling in space, and he's got to pay attention to that. But he's the edge setter here. So when I knock Hall, this is the stuff that's really rudimentary stuff. First, gets baited into going too far down the line of scrimmage. I mean, Odunze is supposed to pin him, but he pins himself. So Odunze is just like, screw it, I'll go to Witherspoon. But then he loses outside leverage here. Jones saves the day on this play. Hall's got to have outside leverage. The ball carrier has to be forced back to the inside shoulder of Derek Hall. Instead, he loses his outside shoulder completely on this play. Hall, I'm really reticent with him to believe that the run game stuff's going to come forward because there's a couple different places in his game at times that stand out where you just go, yeah, this ain't going to work really, dude. He's got the power. He does, just instinctually sometimes and awareness sometimes just isn't always there. Luckily, his guy, Jones, cleans up the day for him and makes it all better. Again here, we got a 4-man front, kind of a similar look to the last one, condensed splits here from the Niners offense with their wide receivers. They got a tight end look, wide receiver going in motion prior to the snap. You can see you've got a bit of a wider alignment here from the defensive line of the Seahawks. We got Byron Murphy in a 1 tech, Leonard Williams in the 3 tech. Your guys up to the outside shoulder on either side with Draymond and Uchenna Nwosu. So linebackers are going to have to make it happen on this play. And again, this is just what you're going to see. So I want you to lock in on Mr. Jones. Watch what he does. How impressive is he at times? Well, one of the better climbers in space from the tackle position over the last 10 years in this sport has been Trent Williams. In fact, maybe there's not a better climber in space in this sport than Trent Williams. Look at the left tackle, Trent Williams. Look at how easily Ernest Jones gets around his block. I mean, you've done a good job when you got Trent Williams pressing the back of your back with two hands because he's lost the block so bad. But this is why Jones was so important and retaining him was so important, is finding linebackers that can easily get off these second-level blocks as he's able to do and just have the great instincts because he's cutting this inside knowing he can still get to the outside run. It's an outside zone run, so he's got to take himself inside away from the outside zone run to know he's got the time to be able to do that. And what Williams is counting on is that a linebacker here is going to keep trying to press to the edge, that he's going to press to the edge and run right into him. Instead, Jones cuts it inside and surprises Williams tremendously. Look at that cut. Boom! Completely loses Williams and then goes and makes the tackle. A lot of this, I'm not going to belabor it here because I want to really mainly show the third down stuff on the coverages. But of course, the run game does pair up to what we're doing with the coverages. And Tyrese Knight and both Ernest Jones are really good at being able to get off these kind of blocks and just seamlessly be able to go then find the ball carrier. You see it with them just over and over and over again. Show this one, do one more here. I think I got it. One more set up here. Against the Cardinals again, same situation. I'm going to show you the prior just to kind of hammer this point home. You've got your four down lineman here. Yep, Woolen's down there kind of in almost a blitz look that he's kind of showing. Rashawn Jenkins is around the line of scrimmage there too. Some of this is you have a two running back look here from the pistol formation of the Cardinals along with the tight ends. They've got a lot of bodies around the line of scrimmage. But again, they have a lot of bodies around the line of scrimmage and you only have four down defensive linemen. So you have a lighter box. You have less guys to deal with the amount of guys they have. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They got 9 guys, not including the quarterback, at the line of scrimmage. You've got 4, 6, 7, 8. So there are 9 Cardinals, not including Kyler here. You got 9 Cardinals for your 8 Seahawks, and this is a run play. So lighter box. What does this mean? It means your linebackers are going to end up probably dealing with a climber. They're going to have to deal with an offensive lineman that they got to get off. Watch Jones. Gets right off the block, goes and makes the tackle. Difference between Baker and Dodson and these two linebackers. And in this case, this is a great play to show because Dodson and Baker both had this problem. Both Knight and Jones eliminate that problem on this play. Because what do you see in both Knight and Jones? Both of them end up having to pick up a guy that's blocking in space on them, don't they? Both of them. Nobody gets a free run to the running back here. But they both end up being in on the tackle, and they both get off of their block. Both get off the block, both go make the tackle. It's the necessity of this system that these linebackers are able to do this. And I don't want to undersell the fact that watching Bobby Wagner do it so great for so many years, there's many linebackers in this sport that really struggle with this. They may be fleet of foot, they may be really rangy, they may be great in coverage, but they're not quite as good when it comes to getting off blocks in space. They don't play with that kind of physicality to do so. And with the run game coming to the forefront like it is now in this day and age, these kind of skills are going to matter as much as any time here in the last 15 to 20 years of this sport, because teams are going to run the rock in 2025. You better believe it. So Mike Macdonald's defense has come forward in a really, really major way here this year in his first year. His stack boxes, his simulated pressures, his ability to have lighter boxes against the run game and yet still find some effectiveness to it. Because after all, Seahawks weren't atrocious against the run this year. They weren't a league worst against the run this year. They're middle of the road, and there will be always a little bit of some susceptibility there within the defense and Mike Macdonald's defense because those light boxes you can navigate a lot of the times, but there's going to be times they're just going to gouge you. 6 against 7, 8 against 9. Sometimes you're going to take it on the nose in those kind of situations. But if he can keep it at least balanced to where you can't dominate him in the run game, he can potentially dominate you when it comes to what you're trying to do against him in the past, especially in creating pressures and simulated fronts and stack boxes. Cool part about Mike Macdonald is that he creates these stack boxes and makes you have all the appearances, everything in your mind as a quarterback prior to the snap is saying this thing is absolutely positively going to be a blitz. And then it's not. Then you're just looking at a front four. But you had already determined with certainty in your mind prior to the snap, with 100% certainty, that it was going to be a blitz. And this is another part that you see with a lot of quarterbacks on tape. There's a lot of quarterbacks on tape that want to look at things prior to the snap, determine that that's what it is, and then post-snap, they don't want to have to think on the fly. They want that pre-snap processing to be the driver of what they do. Jared Goff, of course, is one of the greatest examples of this. He is a plan A guy. If his plan A is there and it's in place, he can be great with it. He can be effective with it. But you take away plan E and he's got to start going to plan B and plan C, that's when you start to get 5 interception games from him. That's when you start to see the wheels fall off of that truck. And we weren't able to make it happen in our Detroit matchup with them last year, but that was partly because we didn't take away plan A. We didn't have that as much in that game, but that was the early part of Mike Macdonald at that point. That was still with Baker and Dodds, and that was still with you kind of trying to figure some things out defensively. And the team did seem to improve defensively as the year went along, as they started to get more accommodated to this defense, because it is, again, a complicated defense. It's not simplified. It's not Mike coming in with a one sheet of his defense going, here's what we're all about right here. It's a variety of different coverage concepts. It's disguising things. It's making things appear to be one thing, but then there's something else post-snap. There are little extra details to this defense that take a little bit more time to master and get right and perfect. But I would expect in this year two of Mike Macdonald, with you returning all of your 11 starters from last year, that it's going to be nothing but refining down those details now here this upcoming season. And not only did you return all of your starters, you got 2 guys in Jaron Reed and Uchenna Nwosu that play almost like starter snaps to round out the rotations. You went out and got Lawrence from the Cowboys to be able to come in here and give you a power edge on early downs. I showed you some of the issues with Hall and playing the run. Well, can we just maybe fit to Hall being able to just be a pass rusher purely? Can he just sit into that kind of role, let him just go after the quarterback all day long, and then you have Lawrence there to kind of take up some of the run defending snaps to make you more effective, to get the most effective guys out for each kind of play that is kind of being run up against you based on the sort of the down and distance a little bit. And then let's not undersell Nick Emawari. I'm going to be looking at and doing a show here next Monday, looking at the 3 safety looks from your Seattle Seahawks and whether or not this 3 safety looks might just be the new hotness. Last year, you had Rashad Jenkins and you had Julian Love and, of course, Kobe Bryant back there. And they used a lot of those guys in 3 safety looks a lot of the times just to kind of mix it in there. And you saw some effectiveness in being able to do that. And then now you've got a guy, Nick Emawari, who you want to get out on the football field and find a way to get him in there, but you really love what you got from Kobe Bryant. You really love what you got from Julian Love at the safety position. So this seems to be a natural way that they might be able to accommodate this and just give Mike Macdonald another layer of confusion that he can throw on top of this pie. Another layer into this burrito, of this 7-layer burrito. Put that on in there. So just another place, because this is not a guy that seems to be stagnant with his scheme and say, here's how it is. It's going to be this way forever. This is what works for me. This is all I know. He always seems to be in a state of development with it where he's always looking for those new wrinkles. You felt like last year he was trying this a little bit with Dodson and Baker, where he talked about at Baltimore, I had Roquan Smith as my Mike, and I had Patrick Queen as my Will. He came here last year and he was talking a little bit about trying to use Dodson and Baker in more of that Mike Will place where, one play it might be Dodson as the Mike. Next play, he might be the Will. And I think that this is carrying over even to this year where you saw in times on tape where Ernest Jones would slide to more of a Will linebacker role. And now Tyrese Knight is the Mike on the play. And come down to pre-snap to post-snap confusion. If I as a quarterback walk up at the line of scrimmage and I'm looking at a secondary that's showing me a cover 2 look that's not going to be cover 2 post-snap, and then I'm looking at the linebackers and I can't quite ascertain who's the Mike and who's the Will, because of course identifying the Mike is a very big centerpiece of offenses and what they do in order to get their protections correct, especially when it comes to passing the ball. And then I add on top of that a front that can change in its alignment all over the place, and a front that also loves to run stack boxes at me, loves to run simulated pressures. So I have the confusion of the safeties, I have the confusion of the linebackers, and I have the confusion of the stack boxes in front of me. 3 different levels of confusion you're creating for the quarterback, all working together. And this is the way, this is the future for Mike Macdonald's defense, in my opinion, to where he's driving this. And it gets me so very excited about this defense, because for years here, we played to a defense that's very simple, that's going to run the same thing, play in and play out. And we have seen how the modern offenses can just disassemble that slowly over the course of a game. But now we're going to the other end of the scale. Now we're looking to shut you down and shut you down completely. And I love this philosophy. I love this new direction of this defense. And I absolutely positively believe this thing is going to be mightily effective as we move into the future, because no longer are you operating from a defense that's more decades in the past. Now you're on the cutting edge. Now you are part of the future and what you're driving here from Mike Macdonald's perspective. And I would never blow smoke up your guys' butt on this one. And as far as falsely goes, I truly believe that this thing is going to be able to carry this thing as we go into the future because he is just so smart and he's trying to find every advantage he can defensively to continue to refine and make this defense better. Not just lean on something they do well, but try to utilize everything in his toolkit in order to give this defense the advantages on the field to go out there and be dominant. And I would expect them here into the future to be dominant. 11 starters returned, key reserves coming in neck in the ranks, some guys from the draft that you're able to add on top of that. And we do know that with Schneider, his powder is still dry to maybe even add on top of what is already a very strong unit. You guys let me know, though, in the comments. Do you feel like Mike Macdonald's going to have himself even better defensive season this year? Do you see a top 5 defense? Do you see dominance coming down the line like I do? Not maybe even just this year, but coming down the line at some point with Mike Macdonald. Too smart, and this defense has got too much talent for it not to eventually come to bear. You guys let me know. Please do, guys, if you can for me today. Please hit that like button as it does help this channel out. And you guys know this, I really, really do appreciate it. Sorry if we got a little bit of background construction noise as it's been going off here a lot lately on that side. Randall McDaniel in the house. It's good to see you, Randall. Thank you for dropping the $5 don't know, bro. Hope you're having a great week. Besides time and continuity, what are the 1 to 2 things needed to go from good to great to elite? I say more pass rush. Thoughts and chances on Clowney and Ramsey? Great questions, man. Awesome questions all around. I would say that I would be pretty much in agreement with you on this when I look at the defense. I think in general terms, the most important thing right now to me could be getting a guy that's a difference-making edge rusher. Obviously, a lockdown corner like a Ramsey type is right there, 1 and 1A. It's or 1A and 1B kind of for me, Randall, where it's like what would have more of an impact. Bringing a Clowney in or Ramsey. I mean, maybe Ramsey a little bit for him being the upgrade over Job, versus Clowney maybe not being but a marginal upgrade over what you have off of the edge in other spots. So there is a little bit of there at play of, okay, you're probably going to take a bigger jump to go and grab a Ramsey guy if you do that there. But I still come back to, I think your point is the one where I'm in alignment with you, where I say the part that I think about here is you've got some really good edge rushers, capable edge rushers, guys that can create their share of pressures from Mafe to Uchenna and Lawrence and Hall as a pass rusher. But, you definitely have an opening here to get a more of a dynamic guy, to get more of a difference maker guy out there off that edge, be it a Clowney or be it somebody else. I think in the Clowney place too, it's the nice part I've liked about with the Clowney potential is that you bring him in and then you can maybe move one of these other edges that you may not think as much of a plan for the future. And this is where we come down to, it's not that they're bad players. Like look at a Boye Mafe and a Hall, and I think that the team would probably be more in board with trying to probably hold on to Mafe at this point than Hall, though it's hard to tell. But both of those two guys were drafted for the other scheme and for Coach Carroll's defense. And this defense may not be as much, the fit to what Macdonald wants exactly. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're bad players, but this just could be a situation I've talked about, Randall, where you're just trying to kind of you move an asset you have that other teams might like, that might be a better pure fit for their defense, to go get a guy that's more pure fit for your defense, who's not going to cost you a lot, that you don't have to trade for in the case of a Clowney. I would also be in on a Ramsey, because I think the Ramsey is a significant improvement off of Josh Jobe to the outside, and having a Ramsey, a Woolen, and then having Witherspoon as your 3 cornerbacks. Where are you throwing? Who are you going to go attack there with that? So I would love to be able to if we could Brad both those guys in, you move one of your edges for maybe a draft pick or something else, or maybe you're able to use one of your edges as a piece for a guy like Ramsey. I don't know on that. Those would be kind of in some interesting ways to go with it. But I would say that, yeah, the place that goes to is the 1-2 that I'd go to, Randall, and I'll give you 3 actually. The first would be getting an elite edge rusher, or an edge rusher that's more of a purified fit to this defense and what is required. And Clowney, the reason he had his best year in his career here, of course, was he's really a purified fit to this defense with what he does. Being aligned out is not just a wide 9, but I call it a wide 10, where you're almost coming off of the edge from the cornerback position and you're just running downhill. A guy like Clowney's just, you can't get in front of that freight train when that happens. So I do go to the edge, but man, a lockdown corner there too is right there with it, Randall, I got to say. It's very close. And then on top of that, we do need a nose tackle. So that's maybe a little bit less of an issue. We're going to be doing the Byron Murphy show here, really getting into this a little bit soon about the nose tackle stuff and going back through the tape again. Murphy was living as a one tech last year, and it's a hard knock life for Byron Murphy down there as a nose tackle. It really is. But those first two would be where I would go. An elite edge rusher, I think about adding that here with the rotations you have at the edge off of that, how you could kind of keep that guy fresh, and he could really work dominance. The part I go to the edge rush too, Randall, on this is that though you run a lot of the stacked boxes and the simulated pressures, you don't bring a lot of blitzes. And so in that case, you are now back to relying a lot like Coach Carroll did on the front four to be able to generate the pass rush. You're adding a little bit of an extra turn of the dial because of the fact that there's a simulated pressure causing it, and that you're doing a lot with the simulated pressures to create pure one-on-ones for your defensive linemen. But nonetheless, you still need hyper-dynamic guys to be able to get to the quarterback. And so that's where I keep coming back to the dominant edge, if you could go find that. The guy that's a true difference maker kind of edge, if you could find that. That's the probably the most ideal path there, Randall, if there's one that's presented in that way. Great stuff, though, man. Great stuff. Yeah, HHG. I think if Ramsey and Clowney, if you got both of those two, and make no mistake about it, it's the cost to get either of these two guys is not going to be great. I don't think Ramsey is going to pull a third round return even at this point with what he's got salary constraints wise. He's not super expensive, but it's going to cost a little bit in base money. You've got the money to do that. And Clowney's not going to cost a lot either at this point. It's probably a 1 year, $5 million deal that you're getting Clowney on. So collectively, the price is not that high to grab and bring these two guys in, but you think about what the measurable impact would be with those two guys in, especially in Clowney's case, that you're not only adding Clowney, but maybe you're able to, move that compensation of one of those edges for Ramsey on that side. So you're really not out any real significant draft capital potentially when it all kind of boils down on that. You're just adding two real good difference-making players to your team for very little cost. Yeah, Seth, I think you're definitely trading somebody on the block if you get Clowney. And it comes back to, we saw with Clowney, his pro career here and so many stops that he had in so many different locations. And some people are a little, annoyed with me bringing up because I bring him up a lot. But part of this is just he had the best year of his career with Baltimore. And he's been at so many different places that have misused him and used him in the wrong place. And he goes to Baltimore, and Macdonald, being the smart guy he is, looks at this player and goes, oh, I see exactly what you can do. And in Clowney, you don't have a guy that does a lot of different things, but the things that he does really well, he does really well. And Macdonald just leaned into those things. And I'd love to see that here again. Yeah, Catalyst, we got to get Byron Murphy off of nose tackle hell. It's brutal watching some of these snaps, especially when you see some of the snaps with him where it's a matter of, he doesn't necessarily have a real big guy behind him. He doesn't have that big nose tackle in front of him because it's Byron Murphy. And Bill Belichick used to talk about this, that he'd look for his nose tackles. Yeah, he wants big guys, but he wants real wide body guys. He wants the guys with a real big ass. He wants a big ass. Belichick's got his head all the way up it. And he likes that. And he literally would say, I want a big behind, because the bigger the guy, the wider the guy, the harder it is for those. You get the double teams and the guy that then wants to scrape off the double team to get the linebacker. And he just cannot get around that nose tackle. The guy's just so wide, and you'll see the nose tackles kind of doing a little bit of holding each of the offensive linemen up when they're big and wide like that. And of course, with Murphy, he's 6 foot, 290. He's not built necessarily. He's built wide, but he's not necessarily built 330 wide. He ain't double wide, right? And that's what you really would like ideally in this kind of defense, because you're running those light boxes. So having the bigger guy up there that's a nose tackle that really can take up the pure space on top of freeing Byron up to be a 3-tech, which is really where he should be. A lot of these nose tackle snaps you see with him, when Murphy had success last year, it's when the double team doesn't come to him purely. He's lined up as a 1-tech, but instead of the guard coming down and hitting him, it's just the center, and he just throws the center inside and goes and makes the play because the guard went and tried to go get the linebacker at the second level. And so even there, you're going, boy, man, your imagination starts running wild with Byron, where you're like, what happens if we can get that guy with just single blocks predominantly all the time? Instead of 15% of his snaps, we get that thing up to 70% of his snaps. How is his effectiveness going to be at that point? Brian says sign Clowney, trade Uchenna. I'd be open to that too. That's a possible way of going there, Brian. I think that the Uchenna is going into the last year of his season kind of regardless on that. And that is a guy that's sort of 6'1.5", 6'2"-ish, not super long. That's another guy that's he's a good player. I don't want to seem like I'm shading Mafe or Hall or Uchenna. I'm not. These guys are good players. This just comes down to there are archetype fits to this defense that Macdonald would like to look at. And specifically on the edge, he wants big, long, powerful guys. That's who can play the run first, sort of, so to speak. Yeah, you want the pass rush, but I need you to be able to play the run too with that size. Lou says, shit, with this will be the first year with Mike Mack with his guys. Same players on D with new prove-it players. We drafted all offense. Mike Mack in the D, feeling good. Top 5 D this season. Love it, Lou. Let's go. Let's go, Lou. And I agree, man. All 11 starters you're returning. Can't forget that part of it. All 11 starters plus, right? Because it's 11 starters plus Uchenna Nwosu, plus Jerron Reed. It's all those, plus even a Hankins who gives you some depth in there. So it's all those 11 starters plus Nick Emowari plus. Hell, we might even end up getting something out of Riley Mills this year at some point. Metal Dragon, I agree, and we'll see maybe Mike has a blind spot here. We know John does. We'll see with that. I think when it comes to the run defense, that'll be the thing I pay most attention to with Mike if that backslides, especially with so many teams doubling down on running the ball this upcoming year. Maybe more Seahawks. Thank you for 15 months as a Hawks Nest member. Appreciate it. Says we had a lot of 3-and-outs last year. If we are off, if we were able to stay off the field, can we see a bigger improvement in our run defense? Uchenna, Lawrence, help? Yeah, I think that the run defense, Lawrence is definitely going to help out a lot with that. Uchenna taking away snaps alone from Hall will help out a little bit with that because he's a better run defender than Hall is. Definitely a big improvement. And Lawrence, a huge improvement over there to that degree of things. Yes, the more 3-and-outs you get, the more opportunities you're getting back to your offense and quicker opportunities you're giving back your offense. Because remember, with the 3-and-outs, some of it's about momentum. Our offense goes down and has a long drive and they go score a touchdown. You kick the ball back off. Now you get an instantaneous 3-and-out. Now it's right back to the offense that's kind of hot. It's kind of moving. That's kind of rolling, right? And remember this in prior years, and I'm not trying to shade the pass regime on this. Just this is the way it would roll in prior years, is you might have a long drive, you go score, and then you go give back to the other offense, and then they slowly go up the thing and score on you again. And now, okay, our score got neutralized, and our offense has kind of been sitting on the bench for the last 8 or 9 minutes because the prior defense was a bend but don't break defense. So now all of that momentum and all of that heat your offense had kind of created for the game kind of started to pitter away a little bit. But this defense is more built now to be able to, okay, you scored, we're getting the ball right back in your hands. Go score again. Oh, you scored again, we're going to get the ball right back in your hands. And that's why I also say that this is a defense that's at its best, having an offense that can kind of play from the front, can get them up by a touchdown or two, allow them to take more risks at times, not have the scores kind of tight in those things. Let Mike blitz a little bit more often than he does naturally, I think, when the game is a little bit more closer in those moments of things. So yeah, more 3-and-outs, more chances for the offense. The offense still has to then hold up their end of the bargain on that, feed me, by not being inept and not by returning the ball back with 3-and-outs on their side of it. And that part we will see with the new offensive coordinator and Sam Darnold and no DK and all that. But yes, in general terms, a defense that gets more of those 3-and-outs is probably going to be dealing with less of the run game because there's just less of the sustainable drives going on. Metal, if this run defense struggles again this year, I'm not going to have good things to say about the front office. We'll see. We'll see. I was showing some of the defensive stats here from the prior years. And, the thing with the rush yardage last year is you were 16th. So the thing to look at, and I'm showing this stat again here on this Metal Dragon, is that you see on the right side of me here from 21 to 23, you were averaging 26th in the NFL in rushing yards allowed. So you were atrocious. You were awful. It was not good. Last year, you got the rush defense up to 16th. So you improved it by 10 spots over where you had averaged the prior 3 years in the first year of Mike Macdonald. Now, that's an improvement. That's the arrow moving in the right direction. Fun piece is the defense was awesome with Hall and Mafe. When Uchenna came back, our defense got worse. It was noticeable. Maybe he was still hurt. Yeah, that has been the case. 1 second. That has been the case. Uchenna did say when he came back that he wasn't at 100% fun. He did mention that. So I think that Wyatt Teller thing in the preseason just messed him up. Beamy says we need our offense to stay on the field this year. We do. Good news is that you've paired up the 3 and out. Here's again, back to doing things smartly and intelligently from a front office perspective and how you build your coaching staff and how the team will run. You have a defense in Mike Macdonald that's going to have a high prevalence of trying to draw 3 and outs to get the offenses off the field. You then counter that to the offense that you're driving, being a Kyle Shanahan offense, right? Or a Kubiak offense, whatever you want to call it. And that this is an offense that's about moving the chains and about long sustaining drives. So we have a defense on one side that wants to get you off the field. And then we have an offense on the other side of the ball that wants to control the ball, control the clock, move slowly up the field. There's deep shots built within Kubiak's scheme. That's the cool part about his version of this West Coast offense is he takes more deep shots than your average West Coast guy that just wants to pop pass every different direction of things. But you've got the defense that wants 3 and outs paired to the offense that's going to work its way up the football field, slow but sure. Those two things go really well together. This is a peanut butter jelly, chocolate, vanilla combination kind of going on here a little bit. Seth K. Aloha. Brandon, what's your thoughts on UDFA D'Amico Rowland? I didn't have a chance to see D'Amico Rowland. Is he one of the small school guys? Yeah. So he's from Southern Mississippi, Seth. And this year I was able to get some really good access to all 22 from a lot of the fairly big college programs, even the North Dakota State. I got a couple of those. But the ones that I don't have are going to be, Southern Georgia, Middle Tennessee State, right? Appalachian. I don't have any tape on those guys. So unfortunately, I just don't have a lot to go off of. And there might be some highlights out there, but I'd want to actually see, tape, and then you have small school competition. It's kind of hard to determine. A fun piece of that Ken Easley shirt is fire. Thank you, man. I got to get a couple more of these made up from some of those 80 posters that they did. There's a couple of other ones out there that were pretty cool. I think Warner had one. They had some fun with it in the 80s, man. Metal says, anyway, we'll see. I'm not sold this run defense. It is where it has to be to contend. That's fair, Metal Dragon. And look, even as they took steps forward last year when they had to go up against good running football teams down the stretch in a couple of games, be the Packers, the Vikings game, they found some success there, But overall, it could stand to go forward. There's the two things I'd point to there, Metal Dragon, is it had really far to go. It had really far to go from where you were prior. Like where Coach Carroll had that run defense at when he walked out was not a good spot. So there's a lot of that where you got a lot to clean up here a little bit, and that Rome's not going to be built in a day on this. So I'm going back now. I was showing you the average here, Metal Dragon, where you can see 21 to 23, but you can see here in the 23 rank alone, 2023, the last year of Coach Carroll. Go look at the 31st there with the rush yardage. That's 31st in the NFL. Only one team worse against the rush than you were in Coach Carroll's final year. Then you have Coach Mack come in here, and he improves that to 16th. So he takes you in the final year of Coach Carroll from 31st to 16th. So he did improve it. He did make it better. Does it have some more to go? Sure. But the part of this that I'll also say is that every defense on this Metal Dragon is going to have a weakness. Every defense is going to have a place where you're vulnerable. And the Coach Macdonald defense, even going back to the Ravens, where the Ravens weren't necessarily hyper efficient at stopping the run. They just played ahead a lot of the times, and that was getting minimized for that reason and other reasons within it. But that's also going to be just a general bit of a weakness to this defense that just kind of baked in. And there's no defense that's going to be perfect to stop everything. There's always going to be some of those defenses that have something where they're a little light, they're a little lean on. But he definitely got the improvement last year, at least from where it was in 23, to a pretty measurable degree. We'll see if he can take it even further now. I think to your point on this Metal Dragon as well, they'll probably be improved if you could get some more help in there at the nose tackle position. Not having a Byron Murphy there to force to do it, or an older Hankins there trying to get it done. That doesn't really make it work, Seth says, no worries, beat too many players to watch them all. It really is. Yeah. And especially when you get to middle Tennessee states on those. Samurai says, I'm interested in D'Amico Rowland. He seems to be a mystery. He's got a cool name. He's got a football name, I'll tell you that. Metal says, I just wish they had done more at defensive tackle in the draft. They had plenty of opportunities. I'm with you there, man. When it comes to the nose tackle position and better attacking more of the interior of the offensive line metal, I think those were the two places that you come out this offseason where you go, man, I wish we had done a little bit more at both of those two spots. Bringing back Hankins is not really much of an answer there at the nose tackle position. So I'm equally a little bit, annoyed by that one too. Fun says the country and world is so crazy that I haven't gotten time to just wake up and realize we should be really good this year and pretty seasoned young guys, tough vets, exciting rookies, and Kubiak. We should. Yeah. And Kubiak there in the first year with the Saints was a big improvement for them where they had come with the prior offensive coordinator. So can he get immediate results? Can he get immediate returns? It would appear that he has the potential to be able to do that. Samurai said if John Mike thought they needed a big nose tackle, they would have drafted one. Agreed, man. They definitely, they definitely didn't thinking they needed one, but this is a double impact thing there, Samurai, where last year you had Byron Murphy living in the nose tackle role because you didn't draft one and you had a need for one last year and you didn't address it. And then you forced Byron Murphy out there out of what is his natural position to fill what was a hole that you didn't have on the roster. So maybe they've got the answer in house and maybe they've got a creative way of getting around it. I just hope it isn't Byron Murphy back at nose tackle once again that's not the best way to utilize him. That's not the best way to get the most productivity out of him. Seth says, what's your thoughts on outlets like The Ringer saying our offense has taken a significant step back this offseason with the trades and signings? It's weird with the Geno Smith thing just slid so weirdly, part of me just wonders, is it because he's in Vegas now? Is he's a Raider? It's like the narrative for years here with Geno is that he sucks. He ain't anything. He ain't this. He ain't that. And now coming off what was probably the worst year of his 3-year stretch here in Seattle, his reputation got bigger and better than ever. And not to say Geno didn't play well or that he isn't a good quarterback or that he's not going to make the Raiders better. He will. But it is weird how much just you get dinged for something on one side of it, but then dinged for it on the other side of it too. People just don't buy into Sam Darnold. I mean, that's where it really boils down to is that Seth, they don't buy into Darnold. And the DK moving on is another part that kind of adds the extra cherry on top here for if you're starting to be like the offense went backwards. But they're also not doing anything to take into account the difference of going from a guy in Ryan Grubb, who is not an NFL coordinator, who's not ready to be an NFL coordinator, who probably will never be ready to be an NFL coordinator, to a guy in Kubiak who is proven and who comes in here and gives you a huge improvement as far as that part of the coaching from where you were. So some places might step a little back here or there, but maybe you've taken big steps forward in other places too, and it doesn't feel like some of these national outlets are doing as much of that math. But look, Darnold had one good year last year. Aside from that, throughout his career, he's not been a particularly good player. And while there's a lot of NFL franchises that like him a lot and loved his talent since coming out of USC, there's a pretty good track record there of him not being a particularly good quarterback. There's 1 year of him being a good quarterback in a really good situation in Minnesota where they were doing pretty well when Cousins was there prior to him coming in. Is that a little bit of the machine driving that, or is that the quarterback driving that? So I do think we're improved, but I do kind of understand where they're coming from as well on this as far as their outlook of why they're, maybe a little bit more down on it. And let's face it, Vegas is in the same kind of spot with us as well, and it's not in Vegas's best interest to get this kind of stuff wrong. So, maybe a little bit of some truth to this. Samurai Reed is listed by the team at nose tackle. Even Hankins is listed as just a defensive tackle. Yeah, listed. I wouldn't take much off listed, Samurai. I've watched through all of this tape multiple times over, all 22, and Jaron Reed played very, very few snaps at nose tackle. So you had Hankins there, you had Byron Murphy living in there, and you have maybe a smattering of snaps you can find with Reed and with Leonard Williams in there. Reed playing a tiny little bit more than Leonard did at the one tech or at the nose tackle role. But Reed was not playing nose tackle last year. He was doing the predominant amount of his damage from the 3 tech position. So they may have him listed there, but that's not the way that they play it out. No, they're listing it that way, but that's just because it's being listed that way does not mean that it's going to play out that way. I'm hopeful. I would love to see Jaron Reed slide back to nose tackle, but that's what we've been expecting Reed to do for the last couple years he's been back here, is to be back into a nose tackle role, and he's been playing 3 tech both years. He's basically the guy that rotate in for Leonard Williams and Williams comes out. That's how they've been rolling it, at least. Fun B, Darnold's a big improvement. Be shocked if he isn't really good this year and for years to come. I wouldn't either, man. And look, he's been working on his game. He's been improving steadily. It's a little bit like the Geno thing where, who you are as a quarterback walking in and that narrative sets around you and you can't get out of it. And even as you improve, the narrative just kind of holds on. But we've seen with Geno that these quarterbacks, it can take some time to develop. And that just because you might flame out at your first stop and that you have to wait a little bit of time to get that next opportunity doesn't mean that you aren't going to grow as a player and be more improved when you get that next chance after you've had the time in the league to kind of more master your position. It's the hardest position to play in sports. It shouldn't be a surprise then that, you got to, takes a little bit of time to fully, get all of it worked out and figured out on that, I would say. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up on that note here today. I do appreciate you guys watching. Again, if you can for me, I know I ask it a lot, but it does help this channel out, helps me grow. Helps me show out there on all the algorithms and whatnot. If you can hit that like button, maybe sub on up if you get a chance, I would really, really appreciate it. As we are talking about this Byron Murphy discussion, this is a good time to talk about it because I believe that we got tomorrow. Our show is going to be based around looking a little bit. No, not tomorrow. We're doing that on Thursday. So tomorrow we're actually, let me double check my schedule on this. Tomorrow we're going to be coming back looking at the new NFL rule change that I think is going to really change things up as far as the kickoff rules. Last year, you did see a real definable change in the kickoffs with the change of the rules and moving the 40-yard line and having the blocking, the kickoff team be moved up or the blockings get moved up and everybody's kind of stagnant off of the kickoff. It had a really big tangible effect on the sport in the amount of yards returned and how much return yardage came forward. And now on top of this, the NFL is now moving it to where if you down the ball in the end zone, it's not coming out to not the 25, no, not the 30, but all the way out to the 35-yard line. The 35-yard line is where this is going to be set out now into the future here. So we're going to be talking tomorrow a little bit about, number one, looking at the impact and effect of the change of the kickoff rule last year when you changed it to the 30-yard line on down kicks, but then what you can kind of maybe anticipate with even moving it another 5 yards forward to the 35-yard line and how I believe that this is going to bring kickoffs back from the dead. That you're now going to see this stop being an automatic play, an automatic down kick, that now you're going to actually start to see this become more impactful than ever into the sport, at least as far as we've seen it over probably the last 5 to 10 years in that. So we're going to be doing a look at that tomorrow with a new NFL rule that's going to be bringing into effect this upcoming season there. We have Byron Murphy that we're going to be looking at on Thursday, taking a look at his nose tackle season in hell and to see if he can get up around that. And then Friday, we're going to be taking a look at A.J. Barner's rookie year. I think he had probably the third best rookie season for a Seahawks tight end in our history. And we're another guy that we're not talking a lot about in the last year he had. It's not that he tore the cover off. It's not that he lit everything up. It's just that he had a really strong rookie year, both as a pass catcher and as a blocker, and a guy with a lot to build upon as we go forward, especially in how he's going to free up Elijah Arroyo to not have to be necessarily an inline guy, to be more of a move piece because he can handle all of that inline stuff to a T. But we'll be covering that a little bit more here in the next couple of days. I thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you on that. B, maybe do a bit of a video on the change in the overtime rules this year. Yeah, we'll try to cover that too as well. That'd be a great one to cover there into kind of June and stuff too, as we're getting into a little bit of the minutia there, Brian. That's a great suggestion, man. I'll take a look at that one. The overtime rules will definitely adjust things too now, where both teams truly get that chance, that shot, even if a team scores a touchdown, which is cool. In the name of fairness. Sam will do well. Will play well if the rest of the offense plays well. Yeah, I think with the key with him, Catalyst, and we'll be doing a show around Sam at some point. The real key with Sam is just getting him the good, consistent pass protection, keeping the volumes down of the passes. We don't want him throwing 40 times. Keep him into more of the 30-time range. Let him use his legs. Give him a good run game, and you're going to get the best version of Sam, which, as we saw last year, can be a hell of a version. Fun B, A.J. Barner loves contact, and it amps up the team. Oh, you better believe he does. Yeah, he's and especially fun watching going through last night. I was collecting some of the snaps for the show on Friday, and he just moves really well in space as a blocker. And when he gets into guys, man, he gets movement. Doesn't matter whether you're a defensive end or he's hitting a safety or he's taking on a cornerback. When he comes up and he makes that initial contact, he's dropping you backwards. Guy's got some fun blocking ability on top of what he brings as a pass catcher, and he even brought a little bit of yak last year to the position. So that's going to be a fun show for us to cover up there on Friday. I'm really looking forward to it. Let you guys know, just one more note I wanted to put in there about, we of course got a special situation going on right now for a meetup that's going to occur. Now, this is going to be a Los Angeles Rams 49er Thursday night game, but the Roundtable folks, of course, if you're not aware, I'm over on NFC West Roundtable. It's a whole separate channel that we do on Tuesdays. We're not going to be doing it today, but we do on Tuesdays. And I've been doing with the guys that are all content creators, the Niners and Rams and Cardinals. We're going to be meeting up down in LA. So it's going to be for a Thursday night game, Rams against the 49ers. We're all going to be meeting up. We're going to be doing a night before at a bar there. We're going to be doing tickets to the game. We're getting a collection of tickets to the game. So we'll have everybody kind of sitting in the same section around each other. So if you want to be a part of that, there's a link down in the description section below. I know you got to come from Seattle to come down there and all that, but we're going to be tailgating. It's going to be a cool couple of days. Really looking forward to this, kind of right around mid-season there on a Thursday night football. I've got the link down in the description section below if you want to join that. It is $300, but that gets you into for the party the prior night. We're going to do the tailgate, gets us to the game. You're going to get you tickets to the game, and tickets there are very expensive in the Rams Stadium. So there's actually a decent amount included into that $300 package. You obviously do have to kind of fly down, get hotels, all that kind of stuff if you want to do that. But if you want to join me down there, I really look forward to it. I'm really going to have some fun with this. Just want to let you guys know on that. As well, we are now on the Believe Network as far as the audio podcasts go. So if you are on the Believe Network and got their app downloaded, you can find all of audio versions of these podcasts over there right now. Really appreciate hooking up with them as they're kind enough to reach out over on that side of it. Appreciate you guys watching, Catalyst. Noah Fant's probably going to be moved before the season starts. I think so as well. I think just him and Arroyo are just too much redundancy at that position. I think you need one H-back. I don't know if you're going to need two. So it could be some of this affected by how that they look at Arroyo as more receiver than tight end, and he's more taking a receiver roster spot than anything else. But, we'll see with that. We'll see. Addicted says road trip to LA. Hey, it's only it's like 20-hour trip, man. It's a quick trip right down the line on it. But we're going to be having some fun with this. I'm really looking forward to it, and it's really, really kind of the Roundtable folks to get this all set up. It's going to be a really, really, really cool event. I'm really looking forward to it. And no dog in the fight. I'm just going to be needling Niner and Ram fans all night, trying to get them to fight each other. I'm going to be the great instigator, basically, is what I'm going to be doing. The great instigator. Thank you for that fun. Definitely, man. Appreciate you watching, bro. And again, we'll be back soon here on this. Brian? Oh, Tori Horton. All right, you're speaking in. All right, we'll be back tomorrow, less than 24 hours. We'll be looking at this NFL rule change and how kickoffs now, if you down the kickoff at the 35-yard line, how that could affect things. I'm going to say is just a little bit of a tease on this. Having a defense that's not bend but don't break, having a defense that's if we want to break you instantaneously, it's going to be a lot more beneficial to this rule change. Because if you have a bend but don't break defense that on average is going to give up a couple first downs every drive, a couple first downs, you're already in field goal range, especially with these field goal kickers and their big legs and how they can do it now. So having more of a defense that can stop things down, as we're going to talk about tomorrow, big benefit to this team with this big major rule change. I thank you guys for watching today. I thank you for hanging with this new format change. It's been tremendously popular. We've had a lot of really good new subs. You guys have been rolling along with me on that. So thank you guys for that. We're going to keep it going through this off season. Back tomorrow very soon. But until that time, please don't you ever forget. Golly, don't do it. Go Hawks.